Okay, so welcome, beloved, back to a Mystic in Christ, where intimacy is a pathway to the divine. And today I'm here with my sister Justine Realized. Justine writes about awakening, self-trust, and the journey of remembering who we are beneath conditioning. And with that, she's inviting people into an honest relationship with themselves and with God. Welcome, Justine. It's so great to have you.
Thank you so much, Nadia. It's great to be here.
So you are a huge fan of Saint Thecla. And before we go into Thecla's story and how we came to know about her and her awesomeness, I just want to paint a picture for our listeners right now so they can feel Thecla's bravery in their own hearts in this moment. So for you who's listening right now, just imagine we're in the first century, somewhere in Turkey, and a young woman of about 18 is stripped naked and thrown into an arena by the Romans who want her killed. And we go into the reason why later, but there are wild beasts being launched at her. And for some miraculous reasons, beasts don't manage to kill her. And at some point, she sees a water basin and it has sea lions in there, which are meant to eat her. But in all her bravery and courage, she jumps into the water and declares in a loud voice, "In the name of Jesus Christ, I baptize myself." And as she plunges into the water, there's a flash of lightning and sea lions just float dead to the surface, and Thecla emerges triumphant. And before we continue the story and tell you how it ends, I want to invite Justine to tell you Thecla's whole story from the beginning, because Justine is truly, truly devoted to her. And she just told me that she cries every time she tells the story. And you even have a tattoo of Thecla on your arm, don't you, Justine?
I do. Yes, yes. I have the girl who baptized myself
Mhm.
on my arm because it resonates with my soul
Yeah.
and my journey.
So, Justine, do you want to maybe, or just want to
Yeah.
hand over the mic to you? Do you want to do us the honor and tell us Thecla's story?
Yeah. So the minute that I heard about Thecla, beyond full body goosebumps, it was like pure electricity that went through me because I've always been a defiant individual in my life, and it's kind of what I'm known for. And I have never encountered a woman's story, especially associated with the story of Yeshua, that has the same level of defiance that I know I have within my soul. So hearing that, this woman who was young, engaged, engaged beyond her will. She didn't want to, I don't think she wanted to marry this individual. And, living with her family, her mother, and kind of feeling completely trapped in the life that she was born into as a woman in this time, the first century. And then watching her journey through the 7 stages of awakening as you go through her story, which you can, as you learn about the 7 stages, you really start to identify as you go through her story which stage she's in. And it was just the most aha moment for me because I could identify with her spirit of defiance. Like, I definitely, without a doubt, know that I wouldn't survive a day in that lifetime with my soul. Like, I would be burned at the stake immediately. If I lived in China through COVID, I would probably wouldn't be speaking today. Um, so yeah, the story really begins with her sitting at her bedroom window, which I think is incredibly powerful because she's not, love that Megan Watterson really um, emphasizes, she's not in a jail. She's not trapped. She can leave. She can physically leave, but she's sitting at this window and she overhears Paul, the Apostle Paul, talking to a group of people about what Yeshua was teaching, which at this time was just completely unheard of. And while she's listening to these stories, this inner transformation starts to happen right before her mother's eyes and before her fiance's eyes, which the 3 days of her just sitting there at the window, which would be really difficult to do, to sit for 3 days and 3 nights while in silence. She wasn't responding. She was just sitting while all of the work was happening within her. And her mother and her fiance are trying to wake her out of this trance. And I love the idea of her being right there, but her mother and her fiance know that something is happening within her. So as the story goes, she has this radical awakening that something that Paul says resonates with her, that there is this inner world of liberation, this love that liberates, that she has access to, that no one has ever spoken about to her before. And she wants it. Mm-hmm. And she ends up leaving her family and breaking off the engagement. And this offends her own mother, so much so that her mother calls for her to be burned at the stake, which is just wild as a mother myself. But I'm also a mother that encourages defiance, so I get it. Yeah, because this life that Thecla was choosing and this autonomy and this sovereignty that she was stepping into in that moment threatened her mother so much that it enraged her. I think it activated this envy almost of Thecla declaring her life as her own and not one that she was going to have to be trapped in like her mother was. So her own mother calls for her execution and her burning at the stake, and which happens almost immediately. And she's tied up there, and even in this very quick awakening, she has so much conviction in, like, if this is the way I'm going out, okay. Mm-hmm. And all of these miracles happen in Thecla's life that are beautiful examples of divine timing, of God's grace and intervention. And so she ends up surviving this burning at the stake because it starts to rain. Yeah. Hooray. It starts to rain, and it completely puts out the flames, and she's able to get down, and she goes to find Paul. And there's because Paul's been convicted at this point as well. He's in jail. She goes to find him because she wants to be a follower of his. She wants to learn from him. And as she builds a relationship with Paul and goes to see him in prison, and I think for him this was probably surprising just based on how young she was. And she starts following him, and as she develops in her own sovereignty, she starts to understand that she is his equal. Like she wants to be seen as worthy as Paul, right? In the story of Paul's awakening, which is, I believe, the road to Damascus, is just both of their awakening stories, even though Thecla was sitting there for 3 days and 3 nights, are equal in their worth.
True. Yeah.
Which is really
powerful. Like a 3-day window, right? And he was getting blind and being healed.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. So she really, really wants to be deemed as worthy as Paul. And I mean, that alone in this patriarchal society, like the conditioning that I'm still like pulling away from my own life is crazy, and how much I've unconsciously tolerated living under a patriarchy as a woman, and even as a defiant woman. Like, I can't believe how much I've tolerated. Mm-hmm. So it's not even about equal pay at this point. It's really coming into demanding reverence for being a human woman from men. And we're still struggling with that, right? we're still in it. So even though as a woman I have like the right to vote or whatever, we are so deeply in this lack of reverence for the feminine.
Yep.
So as she follows Paul, she starts to really come into like her soul's deepest desire and going after that. And I mean, that's what I really want to draw from Thecla's story and help other women realize, is that your soul has desires, and you're allowed to have these desires and and then go after them and trust that they're there. Like your soul is leading you in a direction for a very valid reason, and it's part of your purpose and your mission and your dharma, or whatever you want to call it. And can you hear the voice of the soul, right? And Thecla was able to hear hers. So as she's walking with Paul, there's a lot that that she has to break down as a woman. Like she ends up cutting off all of her hair and really stripping the layers of her femininity down to bare bones, and wanting to dress like a man, look like a man, I think as an act of probably protection as well for her body.
Yeah.
As she's traveling with Paul in this rebel group of people. And as she's traveling with him, there's a moment where I think she's dressed as a man at this point. And
yes, and she even bound her own breasts, I think.
Right, exactly. And this nobleman, this politician, sees her, and even cross-dressing as a man, decides that he wants to possess her for whatever reason. Probably her phenomenal essence that she's walking with was magnetizing him. But he grabs her in public and essentially assaults her. And she says no, like not only am I not going with you, I'm going to humiliate you for thinking that you are entitled to me in my body. Yeah. Which again is phenomenal, a phenomenal example of power and protection. And she rips off I think he's actually wearing a crown of sorts, and she rips his cloak, she knocks off his crown, and is essentially like, no, I'm not going with you. And this embarrasses him so much so, because these acts of defiance that come out of women were so rare, that he calls for her to be executed as well. So that's when they create an even bigger spectacle and an example of her, of like, this is what happens to women who defy men. Yeah. in this society. And it was, you will be killed in a spectacle and stripped naked and humiliated and mauled to death by wild animals, and all of these people will be watching and cheering for your death. But also you are the example. So she first spent some time with a queen of sorts. This queen takes her in, and she demands to be held in a very nurturing, protective space before she awaits her sentencing or death. And this queen really embodies the divine mother with her, and falls in love with her. I think she had lost her own daughter at some point somewhere, and Thecla, essentially, she adopts her as her daughter and becomes incredibly protective of her, and really sees Thecla's spirit for who she is, which her own mother didn't. And I think that is such a pivotal moment as well, because it really just takes one person to see you to make all the difference. Like, you just need one. You don't need a massive community. You need one person that your souls are connected and see eye to eye. And I'm so happy that she was able to receive that from this feminine power as well. I mean, she was a queen.
Mhm.
And they spend some time together, and then she's taken away, and the queen demands to go with her, which is beautiful. She's like, she's begging for Thecla's life to be spared. And um she walks right into the stadium with her until they physically remove the queen from her side, which is just like the devotion and loyalty of this woman, this mother figure, is just so beautiful. Of like, it's really activating that protective mother instinct of her as Thecla being her, adopted daughter. And so Thecla being marched in there completely naked and humiliated, and the women in the audience that are, they know that it's wrong. They're calling for her to be released, but it really isn't until they see Thecla's true embodiment of her own self-trust and her own worth, like really reclaiming her worth, that they are completely activated in doing whatever they can to save her. And so the story goes that she's marched in, she's naked. There is a female lion in the stadium, and as well as the male. Like, there's all different animals, and the female lion really comes to protect Thecla, and actually sacrifices her life in doing so. So she protects her from the other animals around that want to maul her. And I mean, that really speaks to the courage and the bravery, the Lionheart bravery,
Mm.
which is so symbolic. And then she manages to see the basin where the sea lions are, as you mentioned, and she gets up there all naked and in front of this entire crowd of people, reclaims her life in the most profound way possible. Like, not only is she a follower of the message of Yeshua, which was so radical at the time, not only is she a woman, but she is saying, I don't even need Paul, because I forgot the part where she asked Paul to baptize her. And Paul says, no, you have to wait. And I'm sure he's doing that for
After
a
she
few reasons.
survived the pyre, as to say, like the
Yeah,
miracle
exactly.
happened and she was saved from her first sentencing to death, and Paul's like, wait, like what?
Yeah. Yeah. The initiation of surviving being burned alive. He was like, you're not ready.
What else do you need, Paul?
I also forgot to mention that when she's taken away, when she defies the politician and she's taken away, Paul's with her. Paul's with her while this assault is happening, and she looks to him to get support from him, and he's like, oh, I don't even know this chick, and leaves. Like, I mean, we need to have a discussion about Paul's courage at some point and the lack of protection that he provided this young girl. He runs away, leaving her to deal with this man on her own.
Pretty much like Peter denying Jesus 3 times. There's like a pattern
Exactly.
going on there of these church founders.
Yeah. Surprising, but also not surprising that Paul would do that. So when she climbs up on the basin and she stands there and she just declares to this crowd of people completely naked that she is not only, like, she's not scared of death, and she's showing them that, but she also reclaims her worth as worthy as any other human being in existence. And that's what I love about Yeshua's teaching and Yeshua's story, is that, like, there was not a cell in his body that said, I'm better than you. I'm more divine than you. I'm the chosen one. I'm the son of God, and you have to bow to me and worship to me. Like, that idea of him is so against everything he came to share. And at that point, Thecla was like, well, I'm as worthy as Jesus Christ. Like, I am. And baptizes herself in this basin of water, and shows the crowd what it means to embody the teaching of Jesus Christ and the message he was bringing, which I just think is the opposite message of what the patriarchal institutionalized Christianity talks about when they want to condition everyone to think that they're broken and that they're these born sinners, that they have to, thank God that you're so graceful that you would love me, this broken, incomplete, sad, lowly species that you created. Like, doesn't make a lick of sense to me. So as a female, as a woman, Thecla's radical and profound embodiment and reclaiming of this in front of an audience without even meeting Jesus Christ has got to be an insane level of self-trust and faith that I haven't even embodied myself at all.
Yeah.
Like it's the fear that she would have had to face is just insane, and the surrender she would have had to face is just the utmost. So in doing so, she unknowingly gives permission to all the women in the audience to do the same, and that is incredibly exciting to me.
Right. And so she baptizes herself, and then they still want to kill her, right? They keep bringing bulls and bears, and they're like, okay, we're going to like murder this woman. And then what happens then?
I don't, you know what, to my knowledge, I believe they let her go after she baptizes herself. I mean, oh yeah, that's right. Like the girls, the women are throwing stuff into the arena to try to make all of the animals go to sleep.
Exactly.
So they're throwing herbs in and they're throwing perfumes in, and they essentially lull the animals to sleep, which I don't know like how like realistic that is, but the story goes that the women essentially do what they can from the outside to protect Thecla.
Yeah.
And then, even I love the piece about when Thecla walks into the stadium, like the governor himself that has sentenced her to death is in awe. It says in the Acts, it says that he is in awe of Thecla. And that's incredibly powerful. Like, she is so grounded in her own power that she has the men around her just in awe of her embodiment of this power, because it's not the same power that they think they have, right? Like, they think they have this power over people and control over people. Like, I can sentence you to death, therefore I'm powerful. And she is showing them that is not power. Like, the power that I have, that I am sourcing from within me, is so huge that it has literally dropped the jaws of the men, the governor himself, as she walks out. He's like, I don't know what it is, but wow, this woman has something I don't have access to yet. And like, that's rad.
And the queen faints also. And I think that's when they finally called it off, right? Because they're like, okay, we can't like risk her dying here on us, so let's just let her go, right? And it was like the final thing that they needed, like Queen Mom, like fainting, that scared the men so bad that they were like, okay, maybe we should just call this off.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah, and then at the end of her story, when she, Paul obviously, there's still a little, like, Paul still feels a little bit threatened by her at the end of it, because now she's like, I don't even need you to baptize me. I did this myself, and I'm going to teach what you're teaching regardless if you want me to or not, which again is fantastic. So there's a little bit of tension there with the two of them at the end, but they do end up traveling and preaching together and then separately. And by the end of the story, Thecla goes back to her hometown and back to her mother, her birth mother, to face her and essentially say, like, you did not see me. You did not see me, but here I am. And this is me rooted in my soul and my power. And I have beat all of this. And I think it's an act of forgiveness and grace on Thecla's part, um, towards her birth mother. And I think that's a beautiful way to end the story, because again, it circles back to this unconditional love and forgiveness that, we are hoping to have for humanity, and the recognizing of our oneness.
Mm.
So, yeah, her story is one that just flipped a switch in my brain, that why did I ever think that I would have to be baptized? And the idea of baptism, of really that death and rebirth cycle of being like washed clean, if you will, or letting part of your ego or part of your identity, this form identity, die and then be reborn with a new pair of eyes. Like, how I ever thought that I would have needed to go through someone to be deemed reborn, and not being able to do it myself, is again that just, this is what I've been taught my whole life.
Yeah. It runs so deep.
So deep, so deep. Like, to the point where when I told people this story before, like I can see their own brain working, and they're like, is she allowed to do that? Like, you know what I mean? Like, is that allowed?
Yeah, yeah.
Allowed by who? Like,
What
who's telling me I can't do this? um, Certainly, I think if Yeshua was here in the flesh, I think that he would probably adore that and watch that, and probably be enjoy and almost laughter about it, as like,
Totally.
absolutely, go and baptize yourself.
100%.
Yeah, which is a very different story than most are told about him.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's so interesting because this whole self-baptism as a radical act of self-authorization that doesn't wait for a man or some religious institution to validate her or our own spiritual legitimacy is like such a revolutionary act almost, because it undermines like all the cultural conditioning that we perceived like for millennia as women. And that it's actually interesting because that, in conjunction with the cutting her hair and the cross-dressing, sort of like stripping herself of all these feminine stereotypes of like what a woman and the bride to be should look like and how she was expected to show up. It's very interesting because it's also related so much to my own journey. As I during a time in my life, I was around 40. I had also shaved my head 44th time. And then on my 40th birthday, I actually baptized myself again
Oh.
in Italy. And it was such a powerful experience. That was before I even knew about Thecla, before I had read Megan's book, The Girl Who Baptized Herself, which tells Thecla's story. I just had this like impulse of, well, first shaving my head, and then later, a few months later, like to baptize myself again. And it was like, I just knew I had to do this. It was like a self-initiation. And I had been baptized before by a friend who was like an ordained priest in the Swedish church, yada yada. But it felt like, no, I want to do this. And I just like stepped into the water, and I tell you, like coming out of that ocean, I felt like a completely like new woman, and felt like it's such a symbolic act, but I think on a spiritual, emotional level, it really does something, because it's like really all about intention, I think. And that intention was just so powerful. Like, I came out and looked at my friend and was like, I'm a new woman. And I tell you, it was so strong. And I would love to hear about your own experience with that. Like, how have you baptized?
I haven't actually done like a water baptism
Okay.
for myself. I feel like I will at some point, but I didn't like hear the story and then run out and dunk myself in water. My own story with respect to my biggest spiritual awakening came from looking for my worth in someone else, that I loved, and that I thought loved me, and through their behavior ended up showing me that that was not the case. And I kept in my mind asking, well, why doesn't he value me? Why doesn't he love me? Why doesn't, like, what more could I, now I'm gonna cry. What more can I do to be lovable? And then it just dawned on me one day that I had said to him, not, I messaged him and I said, every time you make me question my value, you point me back to God. And that was a very odd thing for me to say, I think, at the time, because it hadn't really hit me that that's what I was doing, that I was outsourcing my worth to his love and his validation of my worth. And when I said that, I was like, oh, that's what this whole experience is teaching me. It's teaching me to not ever look outside of myself to somebody else for my worth. And I guess maybe up until that point, I hadn't really had to in the same way. Like my parents were both phenomenal parents. Perfect? No, but showed me that I was worthy and lovable. Absolutely. That I was valuable. 100%. And then I got married to a wonderful man who I've been with since I was 16. So I got married at 21. And again, he never, ever made me doubt my worth and my value in his life or who I was to him. And after I had my third baby and COVID happened and the world went into this giant global ceremony, I knew that something was brewing in me, and I asked God for growth. I said, I feel like I'm not growing. I need growth, because being in a relationship with a man from 16 to, like, I was like 34 at this point, is a long time. And I just felt like something was stagnant in me. And by asking this, in walks this young man into my life who, like, he's significantly younger than me. He's like 11 years younger than me. And there was something very intriguing about him for me. And I didn't even know what it was, because logically, none of it made any sense to me. Like, none of it made sense to me. And we were working together, and then, like, just stuff started happening inside of me, like crazy, like synchronicities, and time felt different, and I started questioning every aspect of my identity. And it was through this experience with him that that was the first time that I was looking to him to tell me my worth, because he wasn't showing me. He was for a while and then all of a sudden wasn't, that I was worth anything to him in his life. That's not what his behavior showed me. And that was a very necessary heart shattering that I had never experienced before. I've never had my heart just shattered before. And I needed to have my heart shattered to source all of my worth and all of my the deepest unconditional love ever, for not only him but for myself as well. And it just has changed my whole life in a sense that I no longer have to look outside of myself ever for my worth. And that also includes not accomplishing what my ego tells me I have to accomplish to be worthy, which is another big one. So I'm still in it, still peeling back layers and deconditioning and deconstructing aspects of my identity, and where my ego is still louder than my soul. But at least I can hear my soul now, like really hear the voice of my soul. And Megan's soul voice meditation is such a beautiful entry point to start playing with going deep enough within to hear the voice of your soul, and not just the voice of your identity, your ego that likes to tell us a lot of things that aren't necessarily true.
Yeah, very true. Thank you for sharing that personal part of your story as well. Yeah, I mean, we all go through such soul initiations, and yeah, I'm marveling at how you really harvested the fruit of that teaching and how you let it transform you. Thank you for sharing that.
Thank you.
Would you like to share more about how Thecla specifically like inspires you on that journey, or how she shows up in your life in relationship to your body, your spiritual practice, your relationships? There's something that where she's like really, really impacting you in a day-to-day life.
Yeah, um, I think because there's such a difference between intellectually understanding and knowing something and then embodying it. So there's like a gap between the two. And with Thecla's story, my level of embodiment has just skyrocketed. And when I am a place that I would maybe be more self-conscious in, dance is a big part of my life, and using dance as an act of meditation and an act of embodiment practice. And I've been a part of an ecstatic dance community here in Toronto and in Hamilton, and in the past, dance was always fun, but it was also a performance that I was putting on, whether I knew it or not. Like, I was very aware of how I was being perceived, how I moved. Do I look cool? Do I look like I know how to dance? What are others thinking about me? Am I hot? Stuff like that. And with ecstatic dance, it has brought it back to taking the performance out of it, and getting deeper into my body. But there is still, like, even in, ecstatic dance, or even like other sober dance events that I go to, I mean, I still see all varying levels of ego, right? All around me. Even in spiritual communities, the ego is still
Spiritual ego is the worst.
So huge. And I'm very aware of that. And I'm very aware of not attaching myself to an identity. I mean, I just saw something yesterday about, you can identify with like your awakening. Like you can identify as like, I'm the awake person. I'm more awake than you. And really create a whole identity around it. And I'm really careful about always coming back to like radical humility and like humbling myself. And I don't think I'm better than the next person, even if I have a different level of awareness. Like, but I now use embodiment as a practice, and almost an experiment when I'm in public situations with people, that I can see all of these little egos being activated. And for me to go to a dance and like really not care how I look, that's a big deconditioning for me, because like caring about my looks has been so ingrained in me. Like, I grew up with a mother who was a makeup artist and in hair, and I was a makeup artist. So like my appearance is still very important to me. And I'm just stepping out of even like the whole anti-aging conditioning, because my mom has been on the anti-aging train for a long time, and I've just heard women speak about how a woman becomes less, or she's worth less if she shows signs of aging,
Holy fuck.
which is insane. Like, but this is the conditioning of especially the beauty world when it comes to being involved in makeup artistry and skincare and
Yeah, yeah, of course.
all
Mm.
of that. And I want to take care of my body, but not from this vain, I'm going to be worth less if I have wrinkles on my face
Yeah.
perspective. So, yeah, Thecla is just reminds me constantly to be so rooted in my body as my soul and my self trust that I really am getting to a place where I couldn't care less what others think about my appearance, how I move, how I dance, any of it,
Mm.
any of it. Everything I do now is for my pure enjoyment of it. If I want to put makeup on, it's for my joy. My hair, my joy. What I'm wearing, my joy. And I don't, that's so freeing, that's so liberating. That's where we want to get to, right? Is to be so embodied that I mean, I can see people will look at me and I'm like, I don't know what they're looking at because I'm dancing ridiculously here. But I think it's that liberation that they're most sensing underneath it all is like I like your energy is so liberating that I want to kind of be around it.
Yeah.
Again, that unconscious permission giving, right? And
Yeah.
it's the same for me. Like when I see people so free on a dance floor, that has given me permission time and time again to also be free on a dance floor. And I think that's a wonderful thing is we're constantly walking each other home. Like that's all we're doing is walking each other home all the time.
I love that you're saying that, and also what you said earlier about like just one person like really seeing you and validating you, and that is enough. And saying that about the dance and how you really don't give a fuck how you're being perceived, and that just reminds me of like I think it was about 2 years ago when I had a completely shaved head. It was like one night I went to an ecstatic dance event here in Stockholm. And I was just like not caring at all how people perceive me. I was just like dancing like really wildly in from within, and I was just wearing this black outfit. And then at the end of the night, there was like this woman coming up to me whom I just knew. She was a friend of a friend, and I hadn't met her in maybe 2 years or so. And she was just saying like, Nadia, can I give you a compliment? And I was like, sure. Like, what is it? And she was like, well, I just saw you like moving around tonight, and you just seemed so um not giving a fuck like what anybody thinks about you here. Like you were so badass, and that's so sexy. Like, thank you. And just
Yeah.
like a woman saying that to me, I was just like, oh, it just completely undid me. I was like, thank you.
Yeah, it's the highest compliment, truly the highest. And I mean, for you to shave your head like that, I haven't even got there yet. I haven't, I pay for my hair.
I
These
love
are
your hair. It's
extensions,
so good.
my
Listen.
girl. I've adopted hair.
Okay.
I have not gotten, I've thought about it and I've thought about the initiation it would be. And I feel like it's going to come in my life for sure, because that stripping back of a piece of your identity and a piece of your appearance and again a piece of what makes you feminine,
Yeah.
like I applaud the women that do it. It's gnarly and it's rad and it must be a quite the thing to go through. So that's
It
incredible.
was for sure. And I mean, especially when I did it when I was 40. It's like when I was in my teens and 20s, it was like kind of easy because I was like young and didn't care, you know. And when I did when I was 40, it was like a completely different thing. And I actually did it also because I was so sick and tired of like being wanted for my beauty, you know, and for being sort of like objectified by men and just like, oh, you're a hot woman, so I'm just gonna try to like, you know, the Alexander type who wanted to grab Thecla in the street, right? So I was just like, no, I'm not having it. Like, was really out of an act of defiance,
Yeah.
also spiritually, but also like for that reason. And then just like so interesting, like to see the different responses, like from men. Like there was like, literally like one guy who was just like, "Well, I used to be attracted to you, but not anymore because now you took away your femininity." It's like interesting. I'm glad I'm not interested in you. And then there was another guy, like a friend of mine who was a bit older, and he met me as it was growing out, like maybe 2 centimeters or whatever. And he's like, can I shave your head again? It's so sexual and shaved, and I was like, thank you, interesting, So it actually tells more about, the person who has an opinion on it than about
Oh
you.
yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. No, it's I love the defiance behind it. I think it's incredible. And maybe I'll build up the courage one day to join you in that initiation. And I completely understand and resonate now more so than ever before about not being objectified by men and like not doing things for the male gaze, which again, like women and young girls, I believe that we're conditioned to center men,
Yeah.
to center them. And I know in Western society, this is, I think, the probably one of the only times in our history as a species where there's like record amounts of women who are not getting married, who are single and happy being single,
Statistically happier. Yes.
happier being
Yeah.
single. And this would explain the male loneliness epidemic if there is one. It's because women are rising in what they will tolerate because they don't have to rely on men
Yeah.
for money anymore.
Yeah.
They can build their own lives. And so they're raising the bar substantially. And a lot of men just are lagging behind, unfortunately, because the patriarchy has hurt them too.
Yeah.
Like truly destroyed real masculinity and stripped them of humanity. And that's why with Yeshua as a role model for men,
Yes.
chef's kiss, like he embodies the
Yes.
most integrity and humility of almost any other example that I can think of. That
Tenderness and reverence and devotion to
it's
the feminine. I
just
mean,
incredible, incredible.
yes.
Like
We
so in
could
love,
go on about this all day.
so in love
Right.
with a man like that. And my goodness, like if men start stepping into that, because I believe like like I women, I just think that we're on a different path than like the feminine's on a different path than the masculine right now, right? And the feminine, I believe, is stepping way more into their remembrance at this moment in time than the collective masculine is. It's happening for them. I'm seeing it. It's happening for them. They're just a little bit lagging behind, which is probably it all makes sense, right? The feminine is going to raise the bar. The masculine will only go to how high we raise that bar. Mm-hmm. So it's all unfolding in divine timing. But to see union with masculine, feminine energies in balance has got to be the most powerful balance. Balance is the only word I can think of. Like the balance of union between the masculine and feminine is the epitome of why we're here.
Yeah.
Like and to see it happening, and to see couples who are like unions that are coming together where both individuals are balanced in those masculine feminine energetics, like the shared mission is so palpable. I can feel it even through the screens of the internet. Like it's just incredible. And I hope that we have more unions coming into fruition in those ways, because the energetic grid of the planet will shift without a doubt.
100%. And I think Yeshua and Magdalene modeled that so beautifully. And I also think that at that time, like society at large, the world at large just wasn't ready for that type of union.
Yes.
And now the world is, because so much more divine feminine, like energy, consciousness is returning now to the planet. So it's becoming, because it's been so imbalanced in the masculine. We've been in such a hyper masculine like culture for thousands of years. And now that more divine feminine is returning, it just creates this like natural shift until we reach this like tipping point, a balancing point where it's finally going to be an equal balance of masculine and feminine energy. And then we can actually embody that type of union also in the flesh.
Yeah. Yeah. It's very exciting time.
Right? It's so exciting. I feel it too.
It's very exciting. And it is funny because although like my mom loves me for who I am, like I could say all of this to her and she would just be like, what? What's happening? I'm like,
different generation.
Yeah, it's very, very interesting. And I have a daughter who I've got two boys and a girl, and my daughter is all fire, all defiance, all like Joan of Arc
Mm,
energy. And she's this little pipsqueak with this high little voice and little glasses. And I cannot wait to watch the woman that she's going to become. It's going to be it's going to be one of my life's greatest joys. Yeah,
mm.
it's so exciting to see women remember or just be born into knowing their power. Like my daughter, she knows it already. She
Amazing.
she's not going to be told what to do by anybody. And it's so great that I have the awareness now in my own life to be an example for her for what it means to be embodied and also what it means to be a woman who claims her worth beyond the male gaze, beyond our appearance, beyond what we can do for men, beyond like, yeah, she's gonna be locked and loaded.
I love it. Yeah, you're definitely making sure of that. And I'm so happy to hear whenever I see that somewhere. It's just like, oh, yes, great.
Yeah, yeah.
So I think with that, let's just bring it back to our beloved listeners and just like inviting you now to just like after everything you just heard from Justine and about Thecla and our stories, just take a moment to tune in and just feel into your own heart, like where is your soul or Thecla, if you resonate with her, inviting you to baptize yourself as an act of defiance and claiming your own spiritual authority. Where where are you being asked to baptize yourself without waiting for permission from a man or any religious authority outside of yourself? So we want to invite you to sit with that question and maybe journal about it. And then you can even share it in the comments if you like. And you can also reach out to me and Justine. I'm going to link to your Substack in the show notes so people can find you if they want to connect with you.
Thank
And
you.
then what's alive in you right now? What are you working on, Justine? Like, just give us a little quick, like, what are you working on? Like, we talked about it a bit before, like you're building something really exciting, and maybe just share a little bit about that before we hang up. Oops.
Yeah. I'm gonna be creating an in-person supper club gathering for femmes and um, women who are feeling the call to go deeper into this curiosity of the soul and really gathering on a monthly basis to again nourish each other with not only food but community and conversation and connection and the container and the space that you can enter into safely to start asking these questions and start perhaps tapping into this part of yourself that could be dormant right now. I'm really intrigued to connect with people that are newer to this work and this information and to these ideas, the ones that are just starting to open their eyes to what it really means to listen to your soul's voice and to live from the soul. So St. Thecla's Supper Club will be birthed this September. And that will be a local gathering. Obviously, I'm outside of Toronto in Canada, but who knows if I could open it up to having joining virtually as well. That could be a potential, like a live joining. And then I'm also collaborating with a wonderful friend, and we're going to be creating a femme-only ecstatic dance. So not so much focusing on the ecstatic dance part of it. We're calling it more of a dance experience because we are going to be doing meditation in the beginning, intention setting, and then it's just going to be strictly for like the feminine, the femmes, the women, so that there is the safest container for women who are again just starting to understand what coming home to their body actually feels like. And I just think dance is a really fun way of doing that in community and doing it in a space that's safe without the outside gazes or unwanted gazes of, perhaps male attention that might have you in your head a bit more, or not just not feeling as comfortable. So that will be kicking off at the end of August in
Amazing.
Hamilton, Ontario. If you're local, reach out.
Ontario women. You're ready
Yep.
for Justine, huh?
Ontario women, the GTA.
We're calling you in.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay, amazing.
exactly.
Thank you. And if anyone's curious, Megan Watterson's book, The Girl Who Baptized Herself, goes deeper into Thecla's story. And if you just want to read Thecla's story directly, it's called The Acts of Paul and Thecla, and it's actually now canon in Haldhausig's New Testament,
Yes.
based on a council that came together in 2012 of having women in there for the first time, like 9 women, 10 men, and they were like discussing and voting what scriptures to add to canon. And for almost 2000 years, the acts of Paul and Thecla have been apocryphal, and they've been like very much like not canon. And I think part of the reason is because like people didn't want women in a spiritual authority. Like what church would be okay with like women thinking they can baptize themselves, right? I mean, like then that defies the whole purpose of having a priest in the church, like as an intermediary between us and God, right? So it was very much like suppressed, even though during the time it was written, it was widely popular, the text, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. It was super popular. But then around the time of the Council of Nicaea, obviously the church fathers decided to leave it out because it was female centered and empowering women. So they were like, no, this is not going to be part of the Bible. So now it's back in the New Testament. If you want to read it, it's a great story. And yeah, we love Thecla. So thank you, Justine, for coming onto the podcast and sharing her story and your story with us. It's been such a joy to have you.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you for having me, Nadia. I think it's so important what you're doing. You're giving a space and a platform to talk about these things. And I want to also just like I want to acknowledge our sisters in Afghanistan right now who are living under Sharia law and who are the most oppressed group, aside from, I believe, like parts of the Congo and Sudan. Like there's just the parts of the world where the women are fighting for their lives every single day. And, it's very apparent that divine feminine energy is the most forbidden
Yep.
energy on this planet. And I just send my love and my prayers to the women over there, and we're doing all we can from where we are to continue to encourage and inspire women and men to step into their full power and their full integrity. So
Yes, thank you. Thank you for naming that. That's really, really important. Yes,
thank
thank
you.
you. Okay.